Pop. Bloop, 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 bloop.
Best intro noise I've ever heard.
Thank you. I did think about going into sound effects if my current life plan didn't work out, so
Yeah, Shannon Bertsy, Foley artist.
amazing. But hello, everybody, and welcome back to the table. Today is a wonderful episode. I'm joined by my usual co-host, Katelynn,
Hello.
and
Hi,
Greg.
Caitlin. Hi, podcast.
Hi, Greg.
Hello. So this is Greg. We met in college. I think it was a year ago or
Wasn't
so,
it? I don't
maybe.
remember. We were in a play. I remember that much.
We were in a play. Yeah, we were both in the musical theater club.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he doesn't have a specific favorite food, but he did make potato soup recently. That was quite good.
I was
And
so proud of myself.
very proud of himself. And his chocolate preference is the milkier the better. So not a dark chocolate kind of person. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
this
did
is
my
Greg.
homework before coming on the podcast. I learned that Caitlin is specifically dark chocolate.
I am.
I expected there to be like a battle of the chocolates as soon as I hopped on here. So I was like making notes, preparing myself. Like it's just better.
I have a lot of food hills I will die on. But I gotta say, like, I can't, in good conscience, shit on people's chocolate preference. You know, it's chocolate. Everyone should get to enjoy chocolate, however, because I think there's a good place for all chocolate. Like, I wouldn't use crazy dark chocolate to make brownies. I would use milk chocolate. So, like, I think there's a place for all of them.
Okay, I can respect that at least. That makes sense. Like I admit I have sinned. I've picked up my own dark chocolate before and enjoyed it quite a bit, including specifically today.
I have a bar of dark chocolate I got from the Lindt store that I've been enjoying very slowly. That's another thing with me with chocolate. It's one of those many signs of like I'm getting older. I can't eat a lot of chocolate all at once. Like if I have like a bar of like nice chocolate and it's like cut into 8 squares, I'll have 1 square a day and that chocolate will last me over a week.
What?
Is it because it's going to keep you up at night?
Would it? Does chocolate keep you up at night?
I don't know, but that is what my grandmother says anytime there's chocolate within a 5-foot radius of her.
Oh,
What?
interesting.
In the past 24 hours, I think I've eaten like maybe 2.5 bars of chocolate.
Yeah, it's not
It's
even
the
like a
holidays,
self-control
it's
thing.
strewn about my house. It's just everywhere for me. I turn around and it's just there, and I'm like, well, I have no self-control, and so it's disappearing at a rapid rate.
Yeah. I've discovered I'm not really as much into candy as I used to be, and I know that probably sounds ridiculous for those who have listened to the Candy podcast and heard how viscerally angry I got. That's a good one, Greg. If you ever watch another one, the candy brackets are great.
No, I've heard 2 or 3. I'm done forever. Never again will I
Fair.
listen.
That's fine too.
I'll probably check that out tomorrow when I'm cooking.
But yeah, I don't love candy as much as I used to. Like I'll have like a piece here and there, but like more often than not, I'm the one that puts my candy in the bowl with a tag that says "Help yourself" on it. So.
Oh, like just like every like school office in the world.
Yeah, I'm the one that has like who has the giveaway candy.
That's wonderful.
My bowl right now at work is full of grandma candies.
Define grandma candies.
Like butterscotches and the cream and caramel swirlies and peppermints and the ones that look like strawberries.
Okay, but like those are all delicious, though.
No, they're good. Oh, for sure. They just happen to be the ones that all grandmothers also have.
That's
I
true.
always get so upset with those like the caramel cream ones where it's like the caramel on the outside and then the ring of cream. Because it's always like, well, I love the cream bit. And then I just kind of chew on this kind of old taffy like caramel for another 15 to 20 minutes.
Are you a
Yeah.
hard candy or soft candy kind of person?
It's like I'm like weirdly into dental hygiene because I'm so terrified of the dentist. I want to go in and go out. I want to
Okay.
walk into the dentist, have them say, "Hey, you're great," and then me hand them $500 and walk away.
That, I
And
mean,
that's how I want my
besides the
dentist experience
$500,
too.
that's a decent motivation to keep your teeth clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if I have my teeth bad, I stay there longer, and I know hard candy is worse for your teeth, so I tend to go with soft candy.
Is it
But
really?
I eat soft candy so fast.
Is it worse for your? Because I feel like soft candy could get stuck on your teeth easier.
What's like because soft candy, like you eat it so quick, like you go chunk, 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 and then like the whole thing is pretty much a paste at that point, so you just swallow it. Whereas hard candy, like you have to keep it in your mouth and like suck on it for a while. So all that sugar is just like next to your teeth.
Okay, that's fair.
That adds up.
Yeah, I prefer like hard candies. I mean, anyone who has never met me but has listened to at least 2 of these episodes know that I prefer things that aren't chewy and sticky. So like a hard butterscotch I like way more than like a soft chewy one.
I entirely agree. Like hard candy tastes great and I love it, especially the hard butterscotch because those are great.
Mm. Yep.
But like I don't have them very often, expressly because I'm like, this is gonna give me so much. Like I'm gonna have so many cavities. Like every time someone hands me a hard candy, I'm like, thank you so much for this delicious Jolly Rancher, but I would just rather not today.
Okay. What about you, Shannon?
Hmm. I guess it depends on the mood.
Okay.
It's a horrible answer, but like
No, it's not.
I don't always want to go through the effort of chewing through like a taffy or a caramel, but it is good when you have a nice like fresh one, so it's chewy and soft.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
A fresh one? What? Are you picking them off the vine?
yeah, yeah. Have you ever
What?
had like so?
What caramel tree do I have to now go find and buy?
I wish there were caramel trees that I could direct you to. I don't know how to know if they're old or new, but sometimes you get a bag and all of the caramels are basically breaking your teeth, even though they're supposed to be soft. And then sometimes you get a bag and it melts in your mouth. It's
Are
just
you
luck,
talking
I
about
think.
what kind of caramels are you talking about?
The not the ones with the cream in the middle. They're just like a square cube.
Okay, like the hard cube ones. Okay.
Yeah. But they're not hard like you can chew them, bite into them. It's not
Is
a
it
hard
is
candy.
it
Okay.
Werther's?
Maybe. I think there are multiple brands of it.
Oh, okay. Because like Werther's has like the rectangle chewy ones. It's like the consistency of like a Tootsie Roll, but not as sticky.
Yeah,
Those are good though. I like those.
those are good.
My brother, for some, like he's a huge foodie. He does so many different things. He like brewed his own mead. He like makes kombucha, and then like he's been doing a bunch of other things. He came over for dinner one time. He brought creme brulee. He was like, "Give me 1 second." He just whips out a blowtorch and starts
I
doing it.
love
Jesus,
making creme brulee.
the point of this though is that one time uh he made caramels for us, and we took a bite of them. He somehow put apple cider into the caramels,
Ooh.
and they are the best caramels I've ever had. They were just so good. It tasted like I was eating an apple orchard, like a candy apple,
Mhm.
except it was just the caramel and it was a tiny bite-sized cube, and I loved it.
Such a good idea.
Nice.
I
That does sound
love
really
that. I
good.
also just love apple cider in general.
Mm-hmm. Me too. My speaking of the kombucha thing, my dad used to make kombucha, and the way that you make it is the same as like a sourdough starter. Like you have this bacteria culture that makes the kombucha, and you basically treat it like a pet. Like when it comes out, you have to continue to feed it and keep it alive, and it's like this gelatinous puck. And it sounds
Yeah.
really disgusting when you explain it, which is like fair, but like yogurt is the same yeast, sourdough, it's all the same thing, or the same concept, I guess. But it's called a SCOBY, is what the puck is called. So we named ours Scooby, And then we made a smaller puck off of the bigger puck, and we named it Scrappy. So we had Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo.
That's so cute.
So yeah, we
I love
named
that
our
so
bacteria
much.
cultures.
Fun fact.
Oh man, this classic Scooby and Scrappy the bacteria cultures. I want a whole show about these guys.
Yeah.
Speaking of like yeast and whatever, that same brother, he moved to Texas and he's so far away now. But he was he gave me the starter he had, which was just like he was like, hey, he had a mother and then he split it in half and he was like, here's some yeast and here's my recipe for making bread because he knew I wanted to try it out.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is awesome, thanks Patrick. And like I made bread for the first time. I followed his recipe exactly and I was feeding the yeast, so I was like, okay, it's perfectly fine.
Mhm.
Then I took the bread out of the oven for the first time. I let it rise, I did the proofing, all of it, and it came out of the oven. I made a
Oh
brick
no.
bread. And so I was like, one of my friends is over at the time. I was like, look at this loaf of bread. It has no bubbles in it whatsoever. And so they took one look at it, and then they just like full overhand, like hammer arm, just like punched it into the table. And it didn't like deflate at all. It actually bounced off the counter a little bit.
Oh no.
So like I just made like a loaf of flat bread. Like just a brick of bread. It was still good. It still tasted fine. It just hadn't risen at all.
Yeah.
And I told my brother Patrick about this, and he came over to the house and he was like, "Oh, your yeast just fully died. You forgot to give it sugar."
Yeah. I
Oh
did the
no.
same thing this weekend, which is so funny. Mine
Oh my
wasn't a
god.
brick, it was a little squishy, but I made artisan bread for the first time, which is such a satisfying process because it's like 4 freaking ingredients and it's so pretty at the end, but my yeast was old. So it's like, it's bread, but like,
Technically.
it's,
Technically bread.
yeah, and it's like, because it's artisan bread, it's yeast, water, salt, and flour. There's no flavor to it at all. So it's like you're eating like a dense sponge. We made them
Which
into
like
bread
pop some
bowls.
butter on that. It tastes great. Ooh, that's a
Yeah,
great idea.
we did a bread bowl. We like cut 2 wells into it. We put spinach artichoke dip in one side and brie in the other side. And we made like fondue out of it, which was really fun. That's what Noah and I did for like the holiday weekend. But we don't know
That's
what
so
to do with the rest
good.
of it now because like neither one of us is like, I'm gonna eat this brick. My brother has been having some of it, so thankfully he's eating the one that we didn't make into bread bowls. But I don't know what to do with it now.
Just a big brick of bread with some brie inside.
The crust is fantastic. It's just everything in the middle is like, this is a sponge.
Delicious.
Delicious.
Delicious, a sponge.
Yeah. But bread is so much fun. Shannon, have you ever made bread from scratch? Or I assume your mom has.
We have a couple of times. We actually don't do it super often. Um, it's a fun process for sure. I think it's one of those things where it's so fun to try, but then if you mess it up, you're like, well, I have this now.
Yeah.
Like it's not something you can save
Yeah,
very easily.
it's never messed up enough for you to throw the whole thing in the trash either. So you're like, I can sort of eat this.
Yeah. Which I think is
Yeah,
the
like you're
danger.
unhappy about it, but it's still bread. So you're like, well, it's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I made it, so I have to keep suffering through this.
Yeah.
This is my child. I can't just throw it away.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a great story involving bread that Shannon definitely knows about. Greg, you'll love this. So, in our 8th grade year in middle school, I guess it's not middle school, junior high, whatever the heck you call it. We went to a K through 8. We didn't know what they were called. Our English teacher made us do basically full-on theatrical presentations as our book reports. Like, we had to, like,
Mhm.
be a GPS or a rapping Santa Claus or Alvin and the Chipmunks or a washing machine. Like it was insanely creative, and a lot of us figured it out and did it, and it was kind of fun. One of them, we had to do the entire presentation in French, and I don't know
We went
about
to like a French Catholic school. Like that wasn't
Yeah.
out of the blue. We were learning French.
Yeah. But the thing is, they had taught us up until that point basically reading French. Like, I can read it, but I can't speak it. So I did my best, but I went for the full presentation where I wore like a striped shirt and jeans, and I brought a homemade baguette with me. Made the whole freaking thing for this project. And I learned how to say, "Would you like a piece of my baguette?" in French. And I was like, she's gonna have a bite of my bread and it's gonna be amazing. And a whole presentation worked up to this one moment. And she didn't take the fucking bread.
Wait, the
Where did
teacher
you-
or Shannon?
The teacher, who was
What?
also our principal. She was amazing and terrifying in every
the
way.
principal was your teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a small school. She taught the English, like the higher ed English classes. And Shannon was in like
the strangest school I've ever heard of.
Shannon was like
Yeah,
in
it was-
double honors and I was in honors, and that's how that worked. She taught both classes at once.
Yeah. It was a wild setup. I think purely for her own
If she teaches
entertainment.
both classes at once, that's just one class.
It was amazing how she did it, because one would learn like a different Shakespeare play than the other, and one would learn the next level of like vocab words, and those who were in the double honors were most likely in the regular honors the year prior. So like Shannon, for example, was one of those people. So she did the honors in 7th grade and then did the double honors in 8th, and I did it in 8th grade. And she just had us do busy work as she taught the other class. And it was amazing how it worked out. And like, we were 8th graders. We weren't like little kids. Like, we knew how to behave. So, but yeah, she didn't take the bread. So I kind of handed out chunks of bread that day at lunchtime.
Because you just had a baguette.
I had a whole baguette. What was I going to do with it?
How big was this baguette?
It was like 2 feet long. And like,
That's
6
so much
inches wide, because
baguette.
it had raised the bread had raised weirdly. It went out to the sides. So it was kind of wide for a baguette, but I just kept breaking chunks off of it and handing it to anyone who asked.
So did your principal, I'm just imagining you standing next to your principal and then looking them dead in the eyes in French, so confident, you and your little 8-year-old self, and just being like, "Would you like a piece of my baguette?" In
Yeah, and she goes,
perfect
"No,
French.
no, yeah, voulez-vous une piece de moi baguette?" Something like that. And she was like, "No, no, no, I'm good." And then held her hand up, and I was like, "Damn it." I went
She
through all this
looks
work.
you, a child, dead in the eyes, just like, no.
Yeah.
And she was
It
not
was
at
scary
all
like that
rude
sometimes.
about it. She just was like one of those principals that's kind of scary. And she knew it, and she was very proud of that fact.
Mhm.
Principal has to be a certain amount of scary, especially at middle school age, or else no one will respect them.
Yeah.
That's true.
This is the laws of the world and of being a principal in middle school.
Yeah. Before we go too long, before I actually like say what the topic of this podcast is, and this is another one where the topic is really loose. We're talking about food-related hobbies, and just things that we like to do regarding cooking or food or traditions like that.
Like making bread.
Like making bread. So we're technically already on topic. Look at us.
I
But
feel like I touched on my one hobby already.
that's okay. Upon introducing this topic to Greg, Shannon mentioned something about lemonade, and Greg was like, "That's not food, that's drink." And you know what? Fair. I pause it to you two. What is broth? Is it food or drink?
It's food.
I'm gonna also go with food.
See,
Because I wouldn't
Because you
go
don't.
out and take
If
a glass.
someone put broth in a cup and then handed it to me and said, "Here you go," I would say, "What is this?"
but the thing is, people do that with bone broth. People like drink a cup of it in the morning. It's like a high protein, high sodium type thing for a lot of people who are doing like health-related things, losing weight or diets or whatever. It's a thing that people just drink in the morning. So I would say it's a drink.
Okay, but like,
No.
let me paint a picture where you go to someone's house, right?
Yeah.
And they're welcoming you in, you're getting settled, and they go, "Do you want anything to drink?" If you answered broth, you would be crazy. They would kick you out. Like, that's
You
not
would
an
be
acceptable
evicted
drink answer.
summarily.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. Did I say it was a socially acceptable drink? Absolutely not.
Like, I
Oh,
guess
this
that
is
people
like,
drink
this is
it,
one
but
of
it's
those
like,
is a pizza sandwich things.
I have many questions
Broth
like
and
this.
drink.
I could piss you both off with questions like this.
Oh god. Yeah, this is the current day episode. Food crimes.
We've had a lot of food crimes. I am usually the committer of such crime.
Oh no, Katelynn.
But like,
why?
I mean, this is someone who eats pizza sauce out of the jar. Like, I drink pickle juice. That's a drink.
I'm sorry. Did you just say that you eat pizza sauce out of the jar?
Yeah,
unforgivable.
Why?
I didn't ask for your forgiveness.
There's
Yeah.
nothing to forgive here. There simply should be an arrest and a trial.
I mean, you've never like eaten tomato soup, or like after you had spaghetti, kind of like scooped up the sauce and meat into one last bite and ate it. Like, it's the same thing. It's just cold.
See, the fact that you said sauce and meat there.
Oh, well, usually there's meat in it, but
I'm not going necessarily for the sauce. I'm going for the meat, and the sauce happens to also be there adding to it. I'm not just taking a spoon to a jar of pizza sauce.
I would like to say, don't knock it till you try it. However, I would not ask anyone to go buy a pizza sauce jar simply to go at it with a spoon.
This sounds like exactly what you're asking them to do, though.
I wouldn't like, it's not like Shannon asking Peter about the spam thing. Like, I literally would not be like, you have to try it. It's whatever. I just think if you did try it, you wouldn't be as upset.
Shannon, I forgot that you were into spam.
Okay. Well, I don't want to say I'm into spam because that sounds like an unhealthy attachment. But I do feel like it's one of those things that people need to try. And Greg has also been subject to this because he was there with Peter and Lauren.
Oh, okay.
I think someone fried spam in front of me, and I was against it the whole time. And then I did try it, and I was like, actually.
Well, see,
Right?
that's what I think it's like. Like, actually, like, it's not terrible when you try it. It's just kind of weird.
Katelynn, maybe you're right. Maybe we're the weird ones because we haven't taken a spoon to a jar of pizza sauce.
I definitely don't want to go as far as to call you weird for not having done that. I don't know. It's one of those things that, like,
tomorrow morning and be like, "This is the day I eat pizza sauce from the jar."
You ever make homemade pizzas again? Just like, once you finish, just like lick the rest off the spoon and just decide how you feel about it.
Just give it a little nibble.
Yeah. And like, I'm not saying I eat the whole jar either. I will have 2 or 3 bites as like a snack. While I'm standing in the kitchen deciding what to have for lunch, I'll just take a couple bites of pizza sauce like any other normal person.
Now, are they bites or is it sips because sauce is a drink?
Shit, dude.
I hate the fact that you said no. I don't just eat the whole jar. I take 3 or 4 bites.
Does that make it better or worse? I don't know.
I'm picturing you just like going about your day, and then you're like, "Oh shoot, I have to go to the dentist." All right, well, a quick snack beforehand. Then you just like pop open a jar of pizza sauce. Take like 2 or 3 bites. You're like, "All right, I'm good. I'm good till lunch."
Oh, what a terrible thing to put in your mouth before going to the dentist. The only thing that I eat before the dentist is a piece of gum that I do not swallow but spit out. But I'll take a piece of gum just to make their job a little bit less gross.
With the the number of food crimes that have been alluded to by Shannon, I'm surprised that the gum swallowing is where we draw a line.
Yeah,
not pizza sauce snack.
I figured I should clarify because I did say eat a piece of gum, and I wanted to clarify that I do not swallow the piece of gum.
because that's out of the question.
Yeah, I think obviously like all those myths about it getting stuck like are false for sure because they're myths. But like, I still don't think you should do it.
It's like I'm just amazed that like I would consider it more socially acceptable to swallow the gum than it would be to have a pizza sauce snack, which is the most bonkers thing I've
Shannon, what's
heard
your opinion on
in
that?
about 2 months.
I mean, I just don't want to choose. My choices for snack are gum or pizza sauce.
Which do you think
Wait.
is crazier, swallowing gum or my act of eating pizza sauce?
Just neither is a good option.
No, we didn't say either was a good option. We said which is more heinous.
Well, like that. I like to like stand up for myself a little bit because like I admit that it's weird. I know that. That's why I mentioned it.
Okay,
But like it's
okay,
still
you know
food.
that, so that
It's
is
like
good.
if you were to eat like a little like spoonful of sugar while you're making tea. Like if you were to eat like I don't know,
No,
lick the
that's like
peanut
if
butter off your
after
knife after you made toast. It's just licking an ingredient.
no, because what this is if it's after Thanksgiving and I just happen to be cleaning up and then I see the gravy spoon is still in that boat, I'm like, I'll have a little nibble of this as a snack.
All right, pizza sauce is a little bit more nutritionally complete than gravy.
The choice is gravy versus peanut butter. Pizza sauce falls right in that good middle area.
Yeah, it really
The
does.
Goldilocks sauce.
Well, I mean, people go in like their jars of peanut butter with a spoon and just eat it like that, or Nutella, or jam, or fluff. So same thing.
Which is
It's
like,
just savory.
I also don't understand that though, because I'm like, if it's a sauce or a spread, I feel like it should go with something.
Oh, peanut butter or Nutella? Straight from the jar. 10 out of 10.
Oh,
But
oh
it's
my
the same
goodness.
concept. It's the same
But it's
premise. It's a different food
But
and it's a
it's
different
not.
category of food, but it's the same premise. It's taking something that should be on another thing and just enjoying it as it is.
but like it's not. Because peanut
How
butter
is
and
it
Nutella,
not,
I
Greg?
think they are less heinous than
It's only less
They
heinous
are-
because more people do it. If more people just enjoyed pizza sauce and tried it, maybe it wouldn't be as weird.
I think the fact that it's more people do it is because it is more understandable why. Because peanut butter and Nutella have an element of sugar. So it's not exactly like a snack. It's more of like, oh, I'll have a little bit of this as like, because a nibble and it's sweet and I like it. Whereas nut falls, like the peanut butter falls a little more into that like savory element. Pizza sauce is just full. There's no sweetness in there that I can tell. It's just straight tomato.
Yeah,
mean-
which would be fine, except you have it cold and from the jar without anything else. Like, I feel like pizza sauce needs to be at least warm.
Okay, I'm going to then now present this to at least Shannon. Greg, it's optional.
You have thick pizza sauce.
At least
soup.
try
That's
it.
forever.
Just once. If you ever come across you're making pizzas, just give it a shot. If you don't like it, you don't have to like it. I'm not telling you should. But I think it's a worthy. I mean, it doesn't taste. It tastes like fucking pizza sauce. It's not. I'm very profane this episode. I'm so sorry. It
We're just really passionate about this.
yeah, it doesn't taste different than hot pizza sauce. It's just pizza sauce but cold. It's like having cold pizza.
I do like cold pizza.
Okay.
Maybe I would enjoy this, actually.
All right.
I'm gonna make.
It's
making
it's
a cold
weird,
shot
yeah,
right
but it may
now.
not be as weird as you think.
Make a cold shot right now. This episode am intensely against the idea of pizza sauce snacking. I will be back at like episode 50 or something, and like some of the first words out of my mouth are, I was like, Katelynn, you were right. Something like that. I'll have tried it in the meantime to be like, oh no.
It's not even like
See what's
an I
correct.
told you so moment. If you find that you like it, amazing. You found something you liked. I just want to be understood. I don't want to prove a point. I don't think it's a point worth winning or losing. I just think you might not be as weirded out by it had you tried it, even if you don't like it.
Okay, I
That's
can.
valid.
I can accept the fact that we feel differently about this.
And that's okay. And if you never agree with me, that's okay too. It's just, of all things to eat, just straight pizza sauce doesn't seem that weird.
Oh, there's definitely weirder things.
Like,
that
you could
I
eat butter
am for
like
sure
that,
people
and
have
I'd be a little bit upset. But it's pizza sauce. It's just tomato soup or tomato sauce, but cold with oregano in it.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
Speaking of just, you can just eat things. Have either of you just eaten a lemon, and would you condone it?
I have. I didn't like it.
I feel like I was about to go with my very hard stance of no, you shouldn't. And then I thought about it. I was like, I have definitely done this. I was in the Scouts. I ate some weird things. Um, I feel like I don't remember it, but I'm positive at some point in my life I've eaten a lemon, and I would say probably the same. It probably wasn't a good experience.
Oh god, this might even ruin my food reputation more. I don't know. Shannon, what have you done? The flavor is fine. I don't mind the acidity of it. I could drink straight lemon juice without like sugar or water in it. It's the texture I don't like, because I don't like oranges for the same reason, but I love orange juice. It's just citrus texture is weird.
What kind of food podcast is this? Everyone
All
here
of our
is a
credibility
monster.
out the window.
Dude, I love food, and I'm very good at making it, and I have a really wide palate. I love a lot of different foods. It just happens to be, for the sake of entertainment, all of the weirdest, like, nitpicky, idiosyncratic things with my food taste come out.
Your pizza, not your pizza. Your food like palette includes a pizza sauce snack and a lemon juice chaser. So some cold tomato oregano, and then just battery acid.
Oh, man.
Katelynn, I question you so much right now. Shannon wasn't kidding about food crimes.
This is such a narrow view of my food tastes, but like,
I know you have so many wonderful food stories and like delicious things that you enjoy, and then we're over here nitpicking here.
Which
Why
is
are we
the
hearing
nature.
about only the atrocities?
I mean, that's the nature of like talking about it in like an entertainment space. You know, I'm gonna say the things that are gonna drive like emotions. I can drive new emotions. One of my favorite food hobbies is making soup. I think soup is the most comforting all around like food. I don't like all soups, but I like a lot of them. And just the act of making it is so calming and comforting. And it's not, in no step of making a soup is there any panic. There's no frying oil. There's no like food jumping out at you. It's so relaxing and calm, and I freaking love soup. So there's another end of food that I like that is way more acceptable.
But only if it has pizza sauce in it.
Shut up, Greg. I'm kidding. No, but I do like tomato sauce, and I have tomato soup. And I have shared my tomato soup recipe on this podcast. And I make it kind of spicy. So I do something a little bit unique with it. But yeah, I like tomato soup. I put
what spices do you put in there?
I put hatch chilies in it. You can get a little jar of tomato and hatch chili together. And I put a ton of red pepper flakes in it. So it's a very simple spice.
Really good.
It's not a really complex spice like a chili or anything. It's very simple. But it's tomato sauce. Like this. Geez, I'm gonna say tomato sauce. It's tomato soup. I mean, it's not really supposed to be complicated.
We poisoned your mind. Now you're just gonna be thinking of sauce all
I'm
night.
thinking of is sauce. I also love making sauce. Tomato sauce, another thing, great to make. I know Noah's mom's recipe, and I won't share it because it ain't mine to share. But it's really good, and it's really easy to make, and you can just like freeze it and have it all the time.
You can.
That
You can
sounds pretty
peas.
good.
You can peas? No, you can freeze it.
A little tip for anyone who doesn't already make and freeze tomato sauce or tomato soup. let it cool all the way before you freeze it. Always, because it's tomatoes. They will get sour if you freeze them too fast, and then you'll go through all the defrosting and it'll be sour.
I'm just gonna write a quick note real quick.
It hasn't personally happened to me, but I know people it has happened to. It's just leave it on the counter, put the lid on, but let it like pop the lid a little bit in whatever containers you're gonna freeze it in, and then just put them in the freezer the next morning. It'll save you from wasting so much, because tomato sauce is not cheap to make. At least not anymore. Food prices are kind of in a weird place right now.
How many tomatoes go into like one thing of tomato soup? Not soup sauce. Oh, you've done it to me.
Tomato soup, I can tell you it's somewhere around 12. But with tomato sauce, I don't know exactly, because we'll use some fresh tomatoes, but some of like the canned, like San Marzano, either crushed or peeled tomatoes, like the canned ones. I don't know exactly how many tomatoes are in there. It also depends on how much you make, but assume it's like 85% tomato.
So this is something I have been curious about. Why, like, okay, you have a tomato, and it's a tomato. Why would you? Is there anything that happens when you peel it that makes it better? Why do people peel tomatoes?
Shannon, do you know?
Oh, it's a good question. Like, to put in soups and sauces, or just to eat?
Just in general, I'm like, people. I don't. There's some foods I don't understand why people peel. Like with an
Yeah.
apple and with a potato, you peel it, and then it's still like a hard, like starchy, or like it's a substance that is a solid, definitely. Whereas like, and so I kind of get why you peel that. But if you peel a tomato or a grape, like that skin was all that was really holding anything together.
Real quick,
Like, why would
who
you take
peels
it
a
off?
grape?
I know
Like
people do for like little
every
kids.
Halloween classroom.
Oh, for little kids? Oh, I can see that then. Choking hazard.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
what it is. Like too tough of a skin. Probably for a tomato too. It's just too tough of a texture for whatever you're using it for.
That was my guess too.
Okay.
Because the most I know of with peeling tomatoes is usually it's going in a sauce or a soup, so it probably makes it easier to blend. Yeah, my guess is it's a texture issue. I know some people like I don't know what the word for it is, but they basically like cook their tomatoes right over open flame and blacken the skin.
Roast them.
I assumed the word was roast. I wanted to be accurate about the word, but yeah, you just like blacken the skin, and usually that adds flavor to it. But usually you leave the skin on whatever you're making when you do that. People do it with peppers too.
Like when people cook things over fire, mainly like I for meat I kind of get it, but also with veg, like the flavor of smoke, I don't understand why people like that.
Really?
Yeah, because every time, like I hate the smell of campfire smoke. Every time
Really?
I always went on camping trips, and
Oh,
then it would just be in my mouth and in my nose so often that I think I've just grown to hate it because it was just so abrasive and it was just overpowering all my other smells. I
mhm.
would come home from a camping trip and for 4 days I would smell like a campfire, and it was
It's like the
it was
best.
okay for the first like 2 days, and then it was just obscene.
That is one of my favorite smells in the world.
Yeah, I get if you're smelling like that all the time, how you would get sick of it.
Mhm.
But maybe just because I don't camp or counter campfires very often, that when I do have that smell, like, I had a vacation not long ago, you know?
I used to have like a certain hoodie I would always wear when we went camping, or even like if it was going over Shannon's house and we were cooking hot dogs on her little beach thing. I would wear the same hoodie every time because it always smelled like campfire. And when I wanted to smell it, I would go smell the hoodie.
My God,
I loved
you
it.
have your campfire
It
hoodie.
did
You're like,
smell
I
like
need it.
faintly of charred hot dogs too, so it didn't last. And of course, I washed this hoodie. I did do that. But like after, like you could tell, like, all right, it's getting like the smell is old. I would wash it. But yeah, there was a little bit of a hot dog smell in it at one point.
You're just walking around. Someone's like, someone's making a barbecue. And you're like, nope,
Yeah.
that's just me.
Oh, this is a little bit of a tangent, so sorry. If anyone was planning to say anything, go ahead now. But I'm going to turn the topic a little bit.
I did have something, but it may have also turned the topic, so I don't know.
Okay,
We're
do
at
you
a
want to
fork
go
I had
first?
nothing. I was just intensely curious.
Mine's about hot dogs, so if you want to go first, we can come back around to hot dogs.
Mine's about fire.
All right, stick with fire then.
Okay. Because we're, tomatoes, peppers, meat, whatever else, roasted over an open fire. I've never had a chestnut roasted over an open fire, and it's a big Christmas thing. And I was just curious if either of you had tried it.
I have not.
I also haven't. I did go to New York like 5 or 6 days ago, though. And good lord, they had chestnuts on every corner.
Really? I was like, I've never even
Yes.
seen it available to me. So New York is the place to go.
Well, I don't actually know if they were chestnuts, but they were like the hot roasted nuts that they have like for all the street vendors.
Oh,
Mhm.
they might not
I
have
just
been.
assumed they were chestnuts.
I had a candied chestnut for the first time this Christmas.
Ooh, how was that?
Disgusting.
No.
Yeah, it was candy.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Imagine like the texture of like a boiled plum.
Oh.
Like,
I'd say I know what a boiled plum.
It was like,
Yeah.
or like a boiled Macintosh apple. Like it was.
Why are you boiling your fruits, Caitlin?
Well,
These aren't good.
It's particularly soft, like a boiled item.
Also, you were questioning the difference between Macintosh and Red Delicious earlier, so I don't know if we can trust you and your
I'm
apple.
going off of what your definition was. You said it was the soft and grainy one.
Oh, that Macintosh is the bulbous apple.
Yeah, the bulbous. Yeah, it was like soft and grainy, but it also like was chewy to a certain extent. Like it no longer had any crunch of a nut. Like it was just like, you know what? This is gonna be a weird example, but you're gonna get it. You know, like in The Lion King where they're singing Hakuna Matata, and then Simba picks up that very specific grub and eats it. That's what it felt like.
I always thought those tasted like eclairs.
That's not what I expected. Oh.
Like he always
What
said,
part
like
of The
he was
Lion
always
King?
like,
Where they're singing Hakuna Matata, and he picks up the grub between his fingers, and it like squirts at him.
Yes,
always
I
said
remember
it's
the
like the
scene,
little
but what about
cream-filled
that
kind.
screamed eclair? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
He said it
Eclair
was
there.
the little cream-filled kind, and
Yeah,
then he ate
eclairs aren't
Vellum.
squishy though.
Yeah, but they're cream-filled.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I was like, well, of course that must be an eclair. So in my mind, for a few years, I was like, bugs just taste like pastries.
I mean, I'm
I
happy
didn't
for
eat
you
one
for
'cause
that
I'm disgusted by them,
mentality
but
of
like, ooh.
yeah. That took a turn I didn't expect.
Were you gonna talk about pretzels?
Hot dogs. But
Oh right,
yeah,
I'm still on New York.
I've not had a roasted chestnut. I've had a candied one, and it reminds me of a grub, and that's kind of how the last 5 minutes just went. But regarding food hobbies, and this is a new food hobby, Noah got from my family for Christmas a hot dog toaster. Have you guys ever seen a hot dog toaster?
My family also got a hot dog toaster.
Yeah.
I never knew these existed.
Oh my
It has
God.
2 like half moon shapes on either side for your bun. You open up the bun, you put it in there, and then it has 2 chutes in the middle for your 2 hot dogs. And they all cook together, and you get a hot dog and a warmed, slightly toasted bun in like 3 minutes. And it's got like
Wait, is it like bright red?
We have the Oscar Mayer branded outside, but they're all the same. Some of them are just red, and some of them are like Coca-Cola brand. It's just like whatever branding they license to put on the outside, but it's all the same thing.
Okay, I was like, did we get the exact same?
Odds are it's the
Like
same
hot dog
exact
toaster.
mechanism with a different shell.
That's incredible.
Did it come with a little hook to like pull out the hot dogs in the middle?
It did come with little hot dogs in the middle.
Dude, it is so silly, and it's hot dogs. Like, it's not a wholesome meal in any way, but it's so easy, and it's so easy to clean up. We made hot dogs in like 2 minutes. It was amazing.
That sounds so good.
It was such a joy.
Wow. I'm happy for the both of you. That's so silly that you both.
Yeah, Shannon,
have
did you
one
get
now.
your hot dog? Your hot dog
I
toaster
missed
for
the
Christmas?
memo, I guess.
And the thing is, for anyone who might be intrigued by this, they're like $18 on Amazon. They're like ridiculously cheap. I will warn you though, and this happens with every toaster. Take it somewhere well ventilated and run it a few times. It's gonna smell bad. It's gonna smoke. It's just burning off the coating from manufacturing. It's okay. And then after, like, once it stops smelling, then you can put the hot dogs in it and you won't be terrified of it.
Mm-hmm.
But any cheap toaster, even like bread toaster, will do the same thing. But yeah, it was a great time. And the hot dogs are in like a little cage. So you hook it and pull the cage out so you can get the hot dogs out without it like falling or dripping into the machine.
I have everything.
I'm just
I
still
love it.
amazed that we both got hot dog toasters for Christmas.
I know, and we didn't meet before this week.
This Caitlin, I played a game of not Dungeons and Dragons, but a fun role playing game with you, and now I'm on a food podcast where I learned that you eat pizza sauce as a snack, and you got a hot dog toaster for Christmas. We've known each other for years now, apparently.
Last week I met Nancy, but today I met Greg.
Exactly.
For context,
listening,
Nancy was the
Nancy was
character
the
that he
character.
embodied for that role-playing game that we did. We did like a virtual, like, one-night werewolf type game, which is really fun.
It's a good time.
Nancy, the drunk housewife.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm such a fan of, like, kitchen gadgets and things like that. I have more traditional ones like an air fryer and things like that, but like the goofy things that are only made to cook one thing intrigue me so much. It only cooks hot dogs. You can't really cook anything else in there. But
Well, what about like bratwursts or other sausage-shaped objects?
if it's as
Just
small
red
as a
hot
hot dog, I imagine you can. But anything like that won't fit in the cage, I don't think you can really make that work. Plus, it would be kind of cold in the middle.
It's true.
Well, couldn't you just put it in 2 times?
If it fits in the machine, I don't see why not.
Here we are trying to hack a hot dog toaster. It's like, how can we use this to cook other things?
Right? It's
Is it
like
hot
it's like
dog?
5-minute crafts. You're like, oh, you can make grilled cheese by turning your toaster on its side. I'm like, do you know how easy it is to make grilled cheese without using a toaster? Like,
Yeah, it takes maybe 2 minutes longer.
yeah. Plus, now you've turned your toaster on its side, and that doesn't seem good for your toaster.
Yeah, or you, because that toaster is gonna pop out and it's gonna be on the counter.
Yeah, and there's cheese on it, so you've made lava.
Then there might be
You
cheese
made hot,
in
cheesy
there.
lava.
What was that, Shan?
And then you've made grilled cheese, so there might be leftover cheese just now in your toaster.
Yeah,
Can't get out.
Ugh. Disgusting.
So, I mean, it's a good ratio though. For every 1 grilled cheese, you ruin 1 toaster. I'd say that's a fair trade.
Yeah.
My grilled cheeses cost me an average of $30 each because I have to keep buying a new toaster.
They're not fancy grilled cheese. They're actually kind of subpar. It's just the toasters I buy.
I watched a TikTok of this woman making like 3 tiers of grilled cheese. So she started with like microwaving it, and she just put bread and cheese in the middle and then nuked the whole sandwich. And I was like, that's the worst thing I've ever seen. And then she did like a traditional, like in the pan with sandwich bread. And then she did like a sourdough with like fancy, like different cheeses and like sharp cheddar and jack and Gruyere, like made it fancy. And I was like, I can't believe we started with you microwaving cheese.
I mean, like, it's done by people though, is the thing.
Yeah.
It's like the
So,
knockoff
it's like-
college version.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you guys have
And we
like
all
a
know how
favorite?
nutritious college is.
I spent the last year of my college career, like writing a book about like cooking basics and how to like properly use a kitchen. But did you guys have any like in your like dorm situations like hacks that you made for yourself regarding food, or was it kind of pretty like traditional reheat and stuff like that?
Well, we weren't
But
allowed to have microwaves in the room.
Okay.
So we'd have to go. Usually, each of the dorm buildings had like a kitchen area that would have a microwave for sure, a toaster if you were lucky, and an oven usually, except in the place where I lived senior year.
Okay.
So I really just kind of relied on the dining hall and then would reheat that, I think.
Okay.
it was much the same. It was just so difficult to actually. It was. I'm still in college. It's so difficult to actually find anything you can use to cook. Like you can't have hot plates. The stoves we have aren't great, so it's kind of like, well, there's the food place like right there, and it costs $7 for a meal. So I'll just go there and then eat something, and then come back, and I'll have my entire food will be done in like 30 minutes. It's just so much more convenient.
Okay.
Which is
Coming home
unfortunate.
from
'cause
winter
it would've
break
been more
though,
fun. Sorry.
oh yes, if we could make things, I entirely agree, Shannon.
Yeah.
Nice.
A couple of times we tried to do like cooking adventures. Like my junior year, we had a pretty good kitchen setup, and that was also the year that COVID was happening
mhm.
pretty bad simultaneously. So we would have to stay in our dorm rooms as much as possible. So like me and my roommates would gather in there and we'd try different TikTok recipes or whatever we could get our hands on in that oven. So that was
Okay.
fun.
Nice.
I have no food adventures. All my food adventures have started in the past like 2 weeks.
One of my favorite things I started making like during college was like charcuterie boards, like little snack boards for just myself.
Oh, I
Love
thought you were
it.
saying like you made wooden boards.
Oh no, Noah
Like
has
I
made me
wasn't
one.
picturing like the cheeses and the meats. I was picturing you just like
The
chopping down a tree and then you get the circular saw and just the whole thing.
Honestly, if I could, I would. I love wooden cutting boards and wooden bowls and stuff. Like my kitchen in the future is going to be so overloaded with kitchen things. I can feel it now. But yeah, I would make like cheese boards or charcuterie boards all the time. Like because I could make it quickly in between classes, and I did a lot of virtual learning because it was during COVID and I lived at home. So I would just go down and like on a tiny cutting board, like put some cheese and some grapes and pepperoni. And I felt so bougie when I was just like sitting in my room learning psychology.
Yeah, just dipping them in pizza sauce.
Yeah, deconstructed pizza.
It's gonna keep coming back to that. I really.
That's okay.
It's like I still can't believe this.
I think that's a good full circle moment for this podcast.
Yeah.
It's like you wrote a book on cooking basics.
I did. Now,
I-
even the best chefs enjoy some easy to consume food. I'm not even saying I'm the best chef, but I know.
Easy to consume pizza sauce.
Well, yeah, there's no prep needed. You just open the jar.
I mean, like, even if it was just peanut butter, I would find that to be like strange but acceptable. The pizza sauce, huh? I still can't get over it.
That's okay.
You know what? Okay.
I had something else that I was going to mention, and it just in one ear at the other when you were talking about the college stuff. Crap.
Have we mentioned any food hobbies at all this episode?
I got a few in, I think.
We did, yeah, bread baking and the hot dogs.
And making
Anything else?
soups.
I feel like-
I have a list too. Like we only hit like 2 things on my list.
Oh, what's else
I
on
feel
your
like I've
list?
just attacked.
But aren't we already,
Caitlin's
like,
food
at-
choices.
It's fine. That's how these go. It's the best. But Are we already, like, at time now?
We-
I always lose track of time.
We are at 55 minutes.
So I'm like, I don't want to introduce a new topic. I could.
You can.
That was the best time to
we've had
introduce
some
new topics.
Yeah, no big deal. If you have like something you definitely want to mention here, I'm down.
Okay. I think I have like 2 more main food hobbies.
Okay.
One of them being cake decorating,
Ooh.
which I think I've mentioned it before, both in, you know, my personal conversations with you guys and on this podcast, but my mom used to like have her own cake decorating business, worked in a bakery for a while, and she's still very much a baker. So there would be times, especially when we were growing up, Katelynn, that we would just like come over to my and experiment with frosting and fondant and like decorate a cake for fun.
That's
So
one
I
of my
think that's
favorite
probably two
things.
hobbies. Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about the Easter cake tragedy? Oh, sorry, Greg. What did you say?
I just had no idea this was a thing.
Oh,
I've known Shannon for like a full year at this point. I was probably mentioned, and I just did not realize.
Okay,
yeah.
I don't know if I mentioned it to you actually.
Her mom's an
hindsight.
amazing baker.
Because a couple of times I would bring baked goods back to school, but I don't know if you're actually there for anything. Sorry about that.
Like, I feel like baked goods just appeared around me, and I was like, "Wow, cool."
Yeah, she made great food, and she always made an effort to include us if we wanted to bake, and we usually did. I remember being her guinea pigs while she was working on a wedding cake. She's like, I want to learn how to use fondant. So she bought a bunch of fondant and just let us play with it.
That's amazing.
But yeah, the Easter cake tragedy, do you remember that?
No, what was the Easter cake tragedy?
So this is absolutely no shade to my mom. She apologized profusely for it, and she felt really bad. But there was one time where we made specifically these little cupcakes that looked like sheep for Easter. And they had extra cake mix, and they had made us each like a 9-inch cake to decorate. So Shan and I each made a 9-inch cake. We decorated it. I put like a little bunny on it or something. I don't know. And the cupcakes and the cake made it to my house. And I went to my aunt's house for Easter, and we were loading the car. And the box of the cupcakes made it to the car. And the cake made it halfway down my driveway, face down on the pavement.
Oh no!
And I couldn't even be mad because my mom was like, I'm so sorry. And it was a mistake. You know, we were just getting stuff for the car, and we were young. We had to have been like 10 or 11, I think. So I don't really know how much I was helping out in loading the car. So I was inside, and she's like, Katelynn, I'm sorry. But the cupcakes made it, and they were good. But yeah, that cake just didn't make it far out of my house.
That must have ruined your entire day.
I think I was like a little bit annoyed, but I wasn't like I said, I wasn't mad at her. It was a genuine mistake, like to an extent. You can't be mad at someone like that. And she's like, I'll buy you a new cake. I'm like, that's not really the point. It's all right. We got the cupcakes. And it was Easter, you know, like the whole day I was covered in candy. Like I really couldn't have been that sour for very long.
You were just like, I have sweets already. I'm fine.
Yeah, there were plenty of other great things that happened that day that had nothing to do with that poor cake.
Oh, that sounds so sad.
Yeah.
I mean, you just gave the driveway a snack.
I did. And that driveway remains.
There's a little memorial set up made of fondant.
Here lies.
Like, here lies that one Easter cake.
I wish I remembered more what it looked like. I just remember it being pink. But, yeah. I don't think I told Shannon specifically around that time because, like, I didn't want... I felt kind of bad. I'm like, it was wasted, you know, but, like, obviously, like, Shannon wouldn't have been like, how dare you? She probably felt the same way that I did. Like, oh no. But I didn't mention it because it didn't matter at that point. You know, I told everyone that it tasted good and that was it.
You were just like, I know in my heart it tasted good.
Well, it was the same cake as the cupcakes. So, like, we knew it was good.
Okay. So everyone got to at least, like, sample it a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay, so there's like a happy ending here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a tragedy for all of like 10 minutes. Like it
And I was
sucked
like,
for
all
a
right, moving
while,
on.
and
It's
then
Easter. We have other things.
yeah, by the time we got to Manchester, like it was fine.
Oh my gosh.
What was your other topic, Shannon?
My other food hobby is going around places that have samples and just having samples.
Yes, that was my favorite thing as a kid, going grocery shopping to like BJ's.
Mm-hmm. The mall,
I-
a good old
You've
like
unlocked
wholesale
like core
store.
memories. The what store?
Wholesale stores, Costco, BJ's, Sam's.
What
Okay.
mall had food samples?
The I
Oh, I
mean, I
guess
don't know
like
if you want me to
Stonewall Kitchen
name
did.
one. Yeah, the so like outlet malls sometimes would have it. Um, so I
Oh.
remember Stonewall Kitchen, Lind. But even sometimes like a general shopping mall in the food
Oh,
court,
food
people will be
courts.
standing outside. Yeah,
I was like by the TJ Maxx. Like I get it now. Yeah, food courts
yeah,
definitely did that.
Yeah, there was someone in J.C. Penney just handing out strips of bologna. They were like, "Please try it.
That for
Please,
some reason was
no
the
one's come by and
conclusion
from
my
buy it."
head
the
came
rack.
to. That's funny.
But yeah,
That's a great one. I forgot about that. Like I haven't done it in so long. I haven't been to BJ's in forever. And like
My mom had a BJ's thing when we were kids, and then because it was three boys in one household. Oh boy, all under the age of 10. And then we stopped going there, and it was the saddest thing for me because I remember getting lost in all the aisles,
yeah.
just like purposely hiding behind like big bags of pretzels, like restaurant-sized bags of pretzels. And now I will never again have that experience. It's so sad. Unless I get my own BJ membership card, but I'm only one person. I don't need that yet.
Yeah.
I mean, fun fact: you can go to BJ's even without a membership. It just costs more.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
I did always wonder that as a kid. I'm like, if we don't have this one card, do they just like evict us? Like, what
yeah.
happens
So
here?
for Costco, if you try to buy anything and you don't have a card, then they're like, no buy. But BJ's will actually let you purchase some stuff.
Oh, well, what the heck, Costco?
Is
What's
it
up with you?
is it Sam's the one that won't even let you in the door?
I think so.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Sam's checks your card at the door, I think.
Why is Costco so mean? And
Well,
Sam's Club.
that's how
Like
they
they're
keep their
turning away
prices down.
people that could buy things.
Well, because the cost of the membership is like fueling their business. So if people are coming in here buying things without membership cards, then they're losing money,
Like, they
essentially.
could just get the money from the people coming in.
No.
I was a business minor for 2 semesters. This doesn't mean that I know anything about economics. I'll leave them to their own musings.
What major are you now?
I'm a graphic design major, so
I'm a
anything with
graphic design
visual
graduate.
stuff.
Welcome to the
Oh
club.
my god! Hey,
I'm so glad I
amazing! I love
asked.
Wow. Both graphic designers, both hot dog makers.
Shan, it's okay. You'll find your hot dog maker one day.
My graphic design degree.
I can't help you with that one, but like you can also have hot dogs that are just as good as ours, if not better.
Halfway there. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I should be graduating this year. I hope,
Nice.
maybe, possibly, but I have no idea.
Costco is one of those lands that always intrigues me, and I say lands because it's a place I've never been. We're a BJ's family. My dad wants to get. We talked about Costco for so long in the last episode too. That's so funny.
In my life, we always just circle back.
You can tell Shannon's worked there.
It always comes back to Costco.
It does.
Did they stop doing the samples like post-COVID, or did they come back? Because I know they stopped obviously during, but
Yeah, they've come back since.
oh, good. Okay, I didn't know if they came back in BJ's because my parents just don't bring us along anymore. Um, but
That's
Colin
so
and I both
sad.
have like real big boy jobs, so we're not just like always around. My mom would be like, "All right, you're coming shopping with us," but I go
Yeah, but like
when I
they can
can.
still invite you sometimes, like if they're available.
Oh,
They're like, "Hey, I know you love this place."
they totally would if I didn't get home at like 5. But like on like Thursdays, for example, they're both like out shopping by like 3. So my dad gets out early in the day, and my mom works Saturday to Wednesday. So her Thursday and Friday is her weekend.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So she's just like out doing shopping Thursday at like 3 p.m.
Yeah.
That's the time to do it though, because it's
Oh,
not as
for
busy.
sure. And then
no
they
one
go
else
get
is
dinner and
there.
stuff.
None of those hoodlums out there with their real big boy jobs.
Those 9-to-5ers could never.
It's probably a bunch of other like moms with kids trying to do the same thing.
9 to 5, what a time.
Whoa, 9 to 5.
Crazy.
8:30 to
Fun fact, that was the
4:30.
musical.
What a way to make a living.
But yeah. Are there any final food hobbies or closing statements we have for today?
I should probably try pizza sauce on its own. I feel like I really attacked your food choices there, Kayla.
That's okay. That's the point. I will also follow up with saying, like, you might like it, you might not like it, but I almost guarantee you it won't be as revolutionary as you think in either direction.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like that thing where I'll be like, all right, my first time having pizza sauce, what's it going to be like?
Be
And
like,
I'm going to eat it. And we're like, it just tastes like tomatoes.
It's going to taste exactly how you expect. Like, precisely how you expect it to taste is how it's going to taste.
Well, then now I don't even need to try it. Like, why
you don't
would
have
I?
to. I'm not making you.
I know what tomato tastes like.
Yeah, but it's like seasoned tomato sauce. You got
so close to having another convert, and now...
I still think you should... Anyway, this could go forever.
You've ruined all your chances.
That's all right. But anyway, thank you for joining us on like relatively short notice too.
Oh, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and you're always welcome back if you want to come back. We've had many repeats.
I may take you up on that. That does sound fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Shannon, as always, for continuing to do this with me.
Of course.
Shannon's not trapped here or anything.
Totally love you. No, I really do. This is the highlight of my week. I get to talk to some of my favorite people about food, and it's a good time.
Yeah, it genuinely has been so nice to like contract an hour of my week to like talk to my friends. And like I did it as like it's also in like it's connected to my like side business thing. But like I think even if it wasn't, I think this is still a fun way to like I don't know, just maintain a consistent like communication with people. But
yeah, that's something I wish I had like going forward, because as I'm leaving college, I'm like, I'm not gonna be swarmed by thousands of people every single day. I'm gonna have to like develop relationships.
Yeah, it's an adjustment, but it happens, you know.
Yeah, and it sometimes is like good and bad in different ways. Where like you're not like talking to some people all the time, and you know sometimes the way it is. Some friends are just your friends because you see them all the time. Not anything against them, but like it worked in reverse for me and Shannon, where like we didn't talk much through high school or college, and we talk more now than we ever have, or at least ever have since graduating 8th grade. I mean, we did see each other every day before that point, but
yeah, we like talked consistently enough that we maintained it, and then when we finally both had free time, we were like, oh my god, each other spend time.
And every time we did meet up, it was like no time had passed, which is always great. And that's how you know, like, there's a long-term friendship there. But yeah, it was always nice to catch up. And now, like, we can talk about things that aren't, like, just catching each other up on our lives. Like, now we're just, like, talking about food for almost an hour and a half every week. So it's not just like, hey, I did this, I did that, here's my life, here's what happened to my family, here's who I'm dating, you know. Now it's like, here's me instead of what I've done.
Yeah, have I ever told you about pizza sauce before?
I have one personality trait in Greg's head right now, and that's okay.
I mean, pretty much.
Okay.
All right. Well, if anyone tries pizza sauce on this podcast or listening to, let me know how you feel about it. If you disagree, that's all right. Whatever. I'm not going to hold it against you. Other than that, if you have any other food hobbies, go partake in them. Go do something good for yourself. And that's that. We'll see you next week, probably with Noah again.
Hi.
A staple of the show.
Pretty much.